In this episode of Film Stock Reviews, I'm reviewing Season 2, Episode 7 of American Horror Stories, titled Necro. Now, when the title announcements were released for the second season of American Horror Stories, Necro was actually the second episode, but somehow it got moved around and became the seventh episode. Now, this seventh episode of American Horror Stories is really different and intricately and interestingly weird. It's Necro for a reason, and it's just out there. It tells a story of Samantha, or Sam, who is a mortician and works with dead bodies. I mean, we just go right into the story right from the beginning. And the way she's introduced is interesting. She's just, there doing her job as a mortician. The family that she works on, the deceased, likes the job she did. She gets a raise, and then she has a boyfriend who is, I believe his name's Jesse, who's always working and all that there. But Sam has a history and she has a story. And we don't know what that story is just yet. But as she's working on another dead body, this new character comes in named John, who is sort of like the person who works at the cemetery and brings the bodies in. They kind of hit it off, and they kind of get close to knowing each other. And basically, we know the story of John. John basically had a near-death experience when his whole family died in a drunk driving accident, but he survived. And his whole mentality of it, that he had such a close brush with death that he felt so alive after that. Now, Sam doesn't talk to John about her family at all, her mother, or neither her boyfriend. So what happens is that Jesse, the boyfriend, tells Sam that, hey, come over, my parents are here. That she goes home, she makes it, and it's like, what is happening, what's going on? So we understand that the backstory of Sam is that her mother was murdered by a intruder or a home invasion, and she died, and there's cereal on the floor and there's blood, and the rose petals in the cereal kind of remember and kind of bring back the memories of how the mother died. Now, after that, Sam runs out, goes back to the mortuary, and she finds out that John is dead from an OD. Well, she liked him. You can tell that there were some nice tension, some sexual tension. And I'll just leave it at that, because then that gets right into the necro aspect of what this is called, what this episode is. And all of a sudden, something happens. He gets up, and the body's not there. Come to find out he's alive. It was a prank, but, he loves her. And this whole concept is weird in aspect. And then after what happened, she leaves. 2 months later, she tries, to do everything. She tries to get married, and this whole thing happens, and he, intrudes on the wedding, and then crashes the wedding and shows the video of what happened, and then it's just great. Her life just spirals down like crazy, and basically she gets a gun. They have this big dialogue at the end, confrontation. They both, something happens. They both die. And it's just an interesting way. The storyline aspect to this was so weird that it's more of a shock horror, or horror shock, than an actual scary episode of American Horror Stories. This is probably my least favorite of these episodes, combining season 1 and season 2. And it's just shock horror. There's nothing horror about it. Nothing there. It's not a ghost. It's not paranormal. There's more aspects of blood and gore a little bit, but not much. But the aspect of knowing the mortician, the mortuary aspect. And then it was a big episode dialogue about life and death. How the living, need the dead to work, or how the dead need the living to survive. It's just a whole hoopla of what the fucks and holy shit moments. And I never seen these actors or actresses before, so I'm new to the aspect of seeing them in American Horror Stories. I'm really curious to see how season 2 ends, because this season is 8 episodes. And with that, so far of the 7 episodes that have aired, maybe 2 episodes, I want to say, maybe 3 are good. Dollhouse, Aura, and Bloody Mary were the only good ones at that. Episode 6 was okay with Judith Light, but that was a callback to an old Twilight Zone episode called Eye of the Beholder with a different twist. This, very different. Necro. I wanted more of the mortuary, the more of the mortician aspect to it, how she does her job and stuff like that, because that's really interesting. And, I respect people who do that kind of work. Not my kind of thing. Very spine tingling, but for what it is, this was just a crazy, weird episode, and it was really uncomfortable at times, I want to say. And it takes a lot to make me uncomfortable, but this episode did. And just the aspect and the notion of doing the things that she did and trying to figure out who was more weird and more fucked up, meaning was it her or was it John? Well, I mean, you can leave that to your own interpretation because it was just absolutely mind-boggling. Wow. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Season 2, Episode 7 of American Horror Stories, titled Necro. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? Did you like the storyline aspect? Did you like the whole way it progressed and played out? And is this the worst episode of this season? Let me know in the comment section below about all the questions I just asked. And I'll see you all in the next review video. And be sure you tune in next week for my Season 2, Episode 8 review of American Horror Stories, the season finale.